Welcome to InnovativePhysiqueDevelopment.com. My name is Robert Malik, ISSA Elite Trainer with 18 certifications from Science for Sport. This episode is in regards to the fiber types, and you will find that this is the most important episode that I do. It is a key foundational episode regarding athletic training. To understand the fiber types and when they are at their greatest force potential is absolutely critical to your training, your improvement and progress. Okay, I turn your attention over to this graph. When you view this graph, you will see the various fiber types as well as my commentary and the force output in relation to time. Now, as I had brought up in episode number 1 regarding the stimulation that you need for muscle growth being mechanical tension and metabolic stress. Without mechanical tension, without resistance, you cannot have metabolic stress to begin with. So, what you want to do optimally is have maximum mechanical tension to potentiate your metabolic stress as well as the benefit of the mechanical tension itself. Now, I want you to keep in mind that activation of a fiber is not necessarily stimulation of a fiber. And this is what's so, I have to say, it's so cool about this. When you see it and you understand it, it's like, wow, okay, I get it now. So just because a fiber is activated doesn't mean it's maximally stimulated. And this graph here clearly lays out why that is so. Let's take a look at split second 0. From 0 on this graph, okay, we move forward. And from this point on, at 55 milliseconds approximately, is when your type 2 fibers kick in. Double the time later approximately is when your endurance fiber kicks in, being the type 1 and type 2A/1. Okay, so you can see here right from the start, by 110 milliseconds, all fibers come into play. Now this is completely different from so much that you have read, because part of the problem is that when you don't see the science itself, then you have people who are translating the science and explaining the science to you without showing you the science, and very often it becomes distorted / messed up, wrong, however you want to look at it. But as you can see here, 110 milliseconds, 1/10 of a second later from your first activation, the endurance fiber is already kicking in. So if you have read or heard, oh, endurance doesn't come in until about 2-3 minutes later, like, no. Try 1/10 of a second, and you already, listen to this, and you already have a fat burn. Your main energy source on the endurance fiber is triglycerides, and you are already hitting into that within 1/10 of a second. So yes, fat burn is not necessarily something that you have to do for endurance work at a long several minute period, prolonged. You can interval it because the fat burn begins at 1/10 of a second. Now, but how well does it begin? See, that's a key issue here. When you take a look at this and get into it, it's very, very interesting. Within 1 to to 2 seconds, the type 2B fiber has peaked. It is putting out its maximal force. This goes back to the Mike Menzer principle of rest pause. Hit the weight, 1 rep, wait 10 seconds for replenishment of creatine, and boom, hit it again. The phosphagen system, 10-to-1 system. Okay? Max that 2B fiber within approximately 1 to 2 seconds and rest. Boom, that's it. That's how fast that fiber is hit. Now you're seeing it. 1 to 2 seconds, type 2B fiber, bam, maximal force. That's it. Take a look at what happens after second number 10. That fiber can barely produce any more force. And this is why this whole concept of going to failure doesn't make sense, doesn't hold water. Because it's not a matter of just going to failure, it's did you maximally stimulate your fibers with mechanical tension. So if I lift a weight that's only 5 pounds 1,000 times, or I try to, and I go to fail, I can't lift it 1,000, just 999, and I fail, did I produce maximal force production from my type 2B fiber that I had in second number 1 and 2 when I was only lifting 5 pounds 1,000 times, and now it's 3 hours later? Or 4 hours, or whatever period of time later this is now? You see what I'm saying? Okay, so a 3-hour endeavor is not a 1-second endeavor, and there are fiber types depending upon what you want to do. It's almost like on a car. Do you put the car in first gear when you want to take off, or in fourth? Okay, so you have to match it, and the body has this matching potential if you understand it and take it to your advantage. Use it to your advantage. All right. So 1 to 2 seconds, type 2B fiber maxes out on its force. And you have intelligently now taken advantage of this, and you have loaded up your maximum weight for 1 to 2 seconds. Now, what's happening here, that's on the 2B. The 2B is very quickly failing after 1 to 2 seconds. The type 2A/1 is coming up, it's trying, it's aiding a little bit, it's doing as best it can, it's helping, as you can see down there at the bottom. The main fiber coming into play now is type 2A, glycolysis, for the glycogen energy system. And the 2A is coming up, and it peaks in about 10 seconds. This is why you may have heard the power and strength rep range is 5 and below. It's not necessarily the reps, it's the time. Okay, 10 seconds, peaking on the type 2A fiber. Now, you have pretty much, there is a somewhat of a decrease, but there's pretty much a steady force production between this range here of 1 to 2 seconds to 10. It can vary a little bit depending on the person, but pretty much within 10 seconds, this is your golden time. This is your best time to produce maximum tension on your type 2B and on your type 2A fiber. All right. Now, one practice that famous strength coach Charles Poliquin had introduced to athletes here in the United States many years ago. And Charles Poliquin, famous strength and conditioning coach who taught himself German to be able to translate the German strength and conditioning journals many years ago. Okay, so he can learn from the Germans that were more advanced than us many years ago in strength training. So he taught himself German. Great, really amazing story here, what this man did. And he translated their journals. And one of his practices that he has come up with is that he said, you go maximum on your first rep, a little bit less than the second, a little bit less than the third. And he actually understood this without the science that we have today. He actually able to understand that 2B, 2A, that bump, 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 like a very slight reduction. And how critical this time frame is to max out these initial fibers. Now the way he did it was a little bit less from the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You could try and keep it steady for the first 10 seconds and see how well your fibers mesh. It's possible you will be able to keep it steady for the first 10 seconds, or you may need a little bit of a decline. You'll have to experiment that a bit to see how that works for you. But you can see here in this graph that the first 10 seconds, this is the golden time. This has never changed. In training for power, it has always been understood 5 and less reps. And what does this translate to? This 10-second period. You want to take advantage of your type 2B and type 2A fiber, maximum mechanical tension right in this period. And in addition to that, you can see where the type 2A/1 is coming up and also trying. So taking advantage of the mechanical tension maximum in this range, even onto that fiber, even though that fiber is more of an endurance fiber, okay? But to have that maximum mechanical tension is a key component of muscle hypertrophy, strength, power, speed. Okay, so now we have the 10 seconds. So what happens after this 10 seconds? We have a reduction in strength of approximately 2% every second. And by the time we get to 30 seconds, we're approximately 40% down in our strength. All right. And at 30 seconds, something very interesting occurs. At 30 seconds, we have a switchover where the type 2A/1 fiber that is coming up beneath these fibers, that is coming up, and 2A/1 goes into the 1 as we go towards 90 seconds. All right? So after 30 seconds, we now have a reduction. Well, at the 30-second period, we have a reduction of 40%. And by the time we're at 90 seconds, we're fully into the endurance type 1 fiber. We have a reduction of approximately 60% of force capability. Okay, but now you can see here at 30 seconds where the 2A1 is now going into the 1, how we have a substantial amount of fat burning here. Okay, where this 2A1 and 1 fiber is the predominant fiber that is producing force. So here's the interesting part here. Take a look at 30 seconds where we are down 40% on our strength capability. If you set up a set of, let's say, 12 reps to do for 30 seconds, then you are setting up a set that's approximately 60% less than your maximum. And you're doing your reps and you repped out, okay? That's good, but you lost all of the strength capability of your 2A and 2B. You see where I'm coming from here? You failed at your 30-second mark, which is 40% less than what you could have done. So, yes, if you burned out, you had a metabolic signal and you had metabolic stress. But did you have optimal mechanical tension stress? No, you didn't, because you didn't take advantage of your strength curves, of your force production curves. What you took advantage of is you took advantage of the end point, but you lost the beginning point to the end point. You see where I'm coming from with this? This is critical, all right? And this is also where stimulation is not activation, activation is not stimulation. Did you have maximal stimulation upon your fibers. Now you could see that in the beginning seconds, how much force your type 2A1 fiber is putting out. You see where it's so low? Do you see where it takes time for that 2A1 to come into its own? It takes 31 seconds for the 2A1 to bypass the 2A and go into now the 1. So the force production of the 2A1, even though it's trying its best right from the start, and you're putting optimal mechanical tension on it, it's not able to produce force, to take advantage of this tension. It cannot resist the tension the way it can at 31 seconds. And then as you see where it goes into 90 seconds and it comes fully into its own strength capabilities. All right? And then from there, if you maintain maximal tension on that fiber, you'll have something called strength endurance. And this is the problem when they say that you cannot produce hypertrophy upon endurance fiber. Because imagine this, or conceive this from this graph. If you were to stress the endurance fiber, this is the way many studies have been structured, and screwed it up. And Brad Schoenfeld's book had actually brought up this issue on the Science of Muscle Hypertrophy by Brad Schoenfeld, has brought up this issue of the studies that were done where you're putting heavy weight and weight that is geared towards the type 2B and type 2A fiber upon the endurance fiber. And when you do this, you could see where the endurance fiber cannot produce the force at that time. It's when you could see at second number 1 and 2 how little this 2A1 and 1 fiber can produce by way of force, though it's trying its best. So, and then you can see how much more force it can produce by 31 seconds to 90 seconds. So how could you possibly properly stimulate this 2A1 and 1 fiber in 1 to 2 seconds when it can only produce, let's say, this much, as you can see, like this much force in comparison to this much force later on? So the key is here that you have to match the resistance with the fiber type. You don't train a 2B fiber that's a maximal 1 second, 2 second fiber with a 30-second set. Can you see this? Just like vice versa. You don't train an endurance fiber that's geared towards 31 plus seconds to infinity, however long you keep going for, with a 1 second rep. It's different. Activation is not stimulation. And when you understand these fiber types, when you understand this is the aerobic pathway system, this is the glycolysis system, okay, the glycogen stores, the creatine stores, the triglyceride stores. So you know what's happening here. And, you know, methods and training can go on to infinity. But it's the base scientific principles that is key that prevent you from going in circles forever. You have to have your science to come off of, so that when you have a method, when you think like, okay, and I'm going to show a video here added on to what I do in my training with my plumbing pipes. When I'm out there and I'm hiking with my weighted pipes, what I'm doing is I'm working my type 1 endurance fiber, but I'm also, because I'm walking and I'm trying to walk quickly, and I'm coming up with this staff, it's 30, 35 pound weighted pipe, I'm doing that quickly. So yes, there's the endurance, but there's also every time that I have to take a step and bring this pipe up quickly, I have a type 2B activation. And because we have this type 2B activation and we have the one endurance, and along with this, we have a splattering of some of the other fiber types that are involved along the way. But you can clearly see where as you're walking and driving up with those pipes of cross-country skis, that drive up, that's a 2B fiber, that's a 1 second deal. But then as you keep going, and the repeated resistance, so now we're getting at the endurance of the one. Okay, when you understand the science of this graph, what's happening with the fibers, then you as well as I can analyze what I do, what you do, what someone else does, and say, okay, that's getting this fiber, that's getting this fiber, that's undoubtedly focusing on this fiber and this fiber, but getting maybe a little blend of the other fibers. All right, so understanding the base science, then you can start to understand and discuss and figure out and even formulate your own training methods depending on the science. No one has a pipe walk out there. This is my concept. And you know what? With this strength endurance, and as Brad Schoenfeld has brought out in one of the best books in the industry, is there very well can be hypertrophy on endurance fiber, but the studies are focusing on training the endurance fiber as if a strength fiber. So I believe in training the endurance fiber also with strength, and that you can have hypertrophy on that fiber. And what Brad brings out in this book is that you will have angiogenesis, capillary perfusion, that will occur with the endurance work that will be beneficial towards your strength fiber, not to mention nerves as well, nerve pathways that are developed in the mind-muscle connection of doing something thousands and thousands of times. As a matter of fact, on my right shoulder, right in here, okay, I have noticed that I have brand new blood vessels on this front deltoid that I never had before because of the past steady 2-3 years of hiking, walking with my weighted pipes, and now I'm up to 35-pound pipes. And I'm going to go up to I have additional weights, I'm going up to 45-pound pipes. It is my goal to match and beat Greg Kovacs and Ronnie Coleman, the strongest bodybuilders of all time on front shoulder raises. Right now I'm doing 60 pounds, okay? I'm 15 pounds away from matching them, I'm 20 pounds away from beating them. And I know without question that these pipes are making that happen. And I'm going more and more, 35 pounds. When you're repping 35 pounds thousands of times, now I'm going to 45 pounds. You think it's going to be that hard for me to do 75 pounds on a couple of reps? No. And I'm seeing how I'm developing the angiogenesis and capillary perfusion. I'm sure it's happening in the left, but I can see it happening in the right deltoid. And this is able to bring nutrients and blood flow into this muscle to help enable the type 2B and 2A fibers. Okay, so that's part of the benefits of doing strength endurance work. It's that not only is there hypertrophy on the endurance fiber, and the studies that have been done were incorrect in that they were trying to train endurance fiber like strength fiber, but it has been found that the training of the endurance fiber causes capillary perfusion and angiogenesis, proliferation of blood vessels and mitochondria. So this will be beneficial to the strengthening of your type 2B and 2A fiber, and will enable you to hit those fibers harder for even more strength and size. Okay, so I encourage you, download this graph, print it out, have it with you, study it, know it. Just like I'm talking about it, I don't have to look at it, I know. It's so important that you understand what's happening. And how at the 90-second mark, and you may read some different places, oh, the aerobics comes in, the aerobic pathway comes in about 2 minutes later or 3 minutes later. Okay, well, okay. Well, maybe go back and look at your science. No, it doesn't. 90 seconds. 90 seconds. And it starts in 110 milliseconds. 1/10 of a second when it starts. And it's already the predominant pathway. At second number 31, you already have more of a fat burn than what you have for the other usage of the other types regarding the predominant energy source. You're already in a fat burn area at 31 seconds on. Now, ideally, what you can do in a set, well, you could break this into different sets, such as the Mike Menser 10-to-1 method, where you a 1 second work, 10-second pause, and you do sets like that. Then you can do your 5-rep sets, targeting your 2A. You can do targeting your 2A with maximal tension. You could go more into the 2A all the way to the 30-second point there, and target some more of your 2A/1, and also as you're pumping up the 2A with more than 5 reps, you're putting some additional stimulation on the sarcoplasmic reticulum, which is important. So you don't want to just stop at the 5th rep all the time. You do want to continue your bodybuilding sets because you want to continue to work on your various fiber types. So you want to maximize your tension. Ideally, what you'll do is you'll start off with the back to the Charles Poliquin method of maximum resistance on rep 1, a little less on rep 2, a little less on rep 2, a little less. And the key is, and then from 10 seconds, you're starting to lose approximately 2% of your strength every second between second 10 and 30. So just keep that in mind. But the thing is here, work this to your benefit. See what you can do, all right? Let's say, okay, 300, 1 rep. You go again, oh yeah, I can do 302 reps. Okay, fine. No, I can't do 303 reps. Okay, drop to what? 295, 290? Okay, get into your own, see with your own body as far as what you can do. But what Charles Poliquin was showing was that don't just do a set where, okay, I'm going to drop, I'm not going to go maximal poundage here. I'm going to go less because I got to be able to do my 8 reps. So I'll go less than maximal. No, he was saying go maximal, drop. Very, very small increment. Okay. So like, Rob, is this a drop set? Well, the problem with the drop setting is when you're like, okay, you do, let's say, some reps or a rep, and then you move the pin like yourself, and it's a bit of an issue when it comes to how fast you can work it. But ideally, if you can drop, like if you can do a rep, and how fast you can do that. The great thing is when you have a training partner. All right, and can keep on maximizing over second by second, continue to maximize your strength curve as it begins to go down. All right, so you're not losing out on the mechanical tension along the way. So you can break this up into, okay, I'll train my type 2B fiber 1 to 2 seconds. I'll train my type 2A maximal on mechanical tension 10 seconds. I'll also go further here. I'll do some sets where I'm between 10 seconds and 30 seconds as I'm training my 2A1 fiber maximally. And on my 2A, I'm pumping up the sarcoplasmic reticulum, so that's good. So okay, so I want to get some sets in there. And then from 31 seconds on, you're starting to work into your endurance realm on your 2A 1 and 1, going into your 1 fiber, your 2A is ending. Maybe you're still pumping that sarcoplasmic reticulum to the end as you're, well, actually not maybe, that's what's happening. And you're continuing to move into your endurance fiber. But the key is here is, yes, you can do some sets where as the force production goes down, you're matching that. As your body's force production goes down, you're matching that with the resistance curve that you're putting on your body, on your muscles. See? So that's very different from saying, okay, I'm gonna do a 60-second set or 90-second set, and by 90 seconds, you're already down 60% of your strength. So if you're gearing your set for 90 seconds, then you're gearing your set at 40% of your max. How are you properly stimulating your strength fibers? How are you properly stimulating mechanical tension when you're starting off at 60% down? Oh, because I gotta do 90-second set. Yeah, well, but look how much you lost along the way. What are you doing for those other energy pathways and fibers? You see where you're missing this. So that activation is not necessarily stimulation. In order to stimulate those fibers with mechanical tension properly, that's what you gotta do. You gotta do it. You can't stimulate mechanical tension on your type 2B fiber that after 10 seconds goes down to nothing and can produce very little force and say, well, I'm gonna stimulate that fiber a minute later. It's not, it can barely produce anything. Okay, so you wanna maximize your mechanical tension, your metabolic stress. And I go forward from here, because if I remember anything a little bit later on, I'm going to add to it in this video. I'll put in an additional part, but I think that I had covered everything here regarding the importance of understanding the various fiber types and the need to maximize and take advantage of their capabilities. All right, any questions? You can always call me, email, text, put comments in on the YouTube. And if you like this presentation, I appreciate that you give it a thumbs up. Okay, so it came to me what I wanted to say. All right. Regarding the endurance fiber versus 2B, and the issue with the amount of weight, amount of mechanical tension that you can put on the muscle is so much greater in the beginning than what it is into your strength endurance realm. We have approximately a 60% loss in force capability between your 1 second, 2 seconds, and your 90 seconds on. Okay? So, I call your attention to the video I'm going to add to this of me at the beach, pulling 155 pounds in the sand. Now, if you go to the big lift episodes, you'll see where I pull this 155 pounds 1,706 times. That is endurance work, strength endurance work, okay? Depending upon how fast I try and pull it while I'm doing my strength endurance work, I'll be putting some stimulation on the type 2B. But because I'm repping every approximately 3 seconds, 3 to 4 seconds, 3.75 seconds, I cannot maximally stimulate the type 2B fiber. I can activate it, but I can't maximally stimulate it because of this endurance work. Too many reps, too quickly rep, 3 seconds later approximately rep, 3 seconds later rep, 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 rep. Not enough of a break time in there for recovery. It starts to go into the endurance realm. So my reps are relatively slow as far as how fast I pull, even with the 2B fiber. Take a look at the video here that I am putting onto this video of me doing the Mike Mensa rest pause of a 1 second or half a second very fast pull, and then a 5 second rest period. Look at how explosively and fast I'm pulling that way. That's the difference between 2B and 1, where the 155 pounds, the 1,700 times, is rather heavy. I'm moving up now in weight, but it's at the time heavy for me. But heavy for 1,700 reps. It's not heavy for a 1 rep and then a 10-second rest. And when you see how explosively and easily, truly easily, like boom, like nothing. That's how it felt, like it was nothing. Pulling it like it was nothing. That's how easily I can pull that if I'm properly working my type 2B fiber. And if I wanted to, I could continue that for a 10-second period, approximately the same exact explosive power for a 10-second period. Because I'd be going into my type 2A and taking advantage of the 2A fiber, where the 2A peaks in approximately 10 seconds. So whereas the 2B fiber goes down, is dying out, the 2A fiber has come up and is producing maximal force. Okay, so we have this 10-second golden time for strength, which is why when trainers or you read about strength training, it's 5 or fewer reps. Don't think of it so much as the reps, think of it as time under tension of that muscle. So this 10-second time period is when you're so strong. And you can see in this video of me how strong I am and how easy this weight is. So if you set up your sets for a poundage that is outside of this 10-second period, how are you getting maximal mechanical tension on these fibers? On the 2A1 that's coming up, it cannot produce much force. So you'll have maximal tension on it, but it can't properly produce force against the tension that you want to overcome. So it cannot properly be stimulated. But then, if by the 31 seconds into it, the 2A1 and 1 starts to come into its own strength capability, as you can see there on the graph, and you can properly take advantage of going maximal resistance at that point, which is going to be less than the 2B and 2A strength. Just like I'm pulling 155 1,700 times, that's a lot of weight. Yeah, for the endurance fiber, it's not a lot of weight for the 2B and 2A. See? So when you see me pulling like that, a 2B and 2A, bam, that's the difference. That's what you're losing when you do a regular set and you're not taking advantage of the 2B and 2A, you're not understanding it, and you're doing a set that's like 30 seconds or 8 to 12 reps. And you're missing out. Why? Because it's approximately a 40% decrease by the time you get to second number 30, and a 60% decrease by the time you get to second number 90. Okay? So you want to, this is what I was telling you about Charles Poliquin, where he dropped it. He was dropping a little bit. So he was maximizing. You can do it that way, all right? Where let's say if I'm doing this at the beach, I'll go explosively and I'll start to burn out, and then I can continue on and slow up, and I can work that curve if I want, or I can set it up into different segments of intervals. Train interval where you're doing the type 2B, type 2A, type 2B is a 1 to 2 second, and you're resting on a 10 to 1 ratio. Okay, and then on the type 2A, we're talking about 10-second maximal over there on that fiber. So you want to do a 10-second max set, like a 5-rep set. Okay, great. All right, and then once again, if you're doing power, if you're doing strength like that, take a 2-minute rest. All right, and replenish your creatine stores, that ATP-CP system, which is a 10-to-1 system. Bring the type 2B back to its maximum, as well as allow for any other recovery in the glycolysis system that can be provided to you within this 10-to-1 rest to work ratio. Okay, so you want to take, if you're going for power, you want it in this 10-second period, take a 2-minute break. However, if you don't want to do this individual set-wise, but want to take it down like what Charles Pollock did, I recommend do a little bit of both. Okay. Now I have to say, just granted, you will find if you attempt this, if you attempt that drop, your maximal drop, and you take that through, oh, believe me, your heart's going to be going 100. Your heart will be going just as hard as your muscles. You'll be going 100% on your heart. It's very hard. You have to be in really good, excellent condition to be able to go maximum, and then very like a step less, or maximum, and then if you can hold it, max for 10 seconds, and then slowly start to drop down, and take your body 100% like that. Very, very hard to do that. If you can do it, great. If you can't, you can try, and if you don't want to try, then take it into intervals. But at least what you don't want to do is you definitely do not want to think that you can just go to failure and do a 90-second set is a 1-second set, then a 1-second set is a 90-second set, and a 30-second set is a 10-second set, is a 60-second. It's not. It's not. You want to have the proper mechanical tension matching the force production of the fibers. And you also want to have the metabolic stress that goes along with it, even if it's somewhat minimal, which would be the case with the 2B. If you do just 1 rep and you wait 10 seconds, you have minimal metabolic stress. That's okay. We just understand mechanical tension, metabolic stress, and the problem with almost all trainers out there, because we're conditioned from the beginning of our coaching, school coaches, any baseball coach, whoever. Everything is about body. Everything is about metabolic burn. So no one's lacking in that. Almost no one. 99, like 1 in a million is lacking in that. What I got to try and convince all of you to do is, whoa, don't forget about your type 2B fiber. Don't forget about this 10-second period. And we have to encourage too is, don't forget about the endurance. Don't forget about the strength endurance. These studies that Brad brought out were in relation to misapplying the science to the endurance fiber. The endurance fiber, you hit it with resistance, with endurance. You don't train endurance fiber with a maximum weight on 2 seconds. It doesn't work, obviously. It's like you wouldn't train the maximal strength on 2 seconds with endurance fiber we go running a marathon. Doesn't work. So, strength, endurance, you want to train too. And that's actually part of what I do outdoors in the outdoor training, but I do in the gym too. As a matter of fact, today, I gotta go and do my pulls in the gym. I'm looking at, on Dally today, about 20 sets of 50. All right, I'm doing my endurance strength work today, 20 sets of 50 at approximately 160. 160 on those matrix machines. All right, so that's something that I got to do today. So I'll be doing my strength endurance there, but I also do it outside at the beach as well. Strength, endurance. You're not going to lose muscle on strength endurance. You're going to gain hypertrophy, on your strength endurance. You're going to gain mitochondria, gain angiogenesis and capillary perfusion. You're going to become overall in better condition, better athlete. And as a matter of fact, it's been found that cross-country skiers have a better cardio profile than runners and cyclists because it's more overall body. So train your entire body. You train your entire body not just for power and strength, but also for strength endurance. Make sure you keep endurance depth and strength. So you always have that muscle stimulation. And I just want to end off with saying, hopefully no one wants to die by the time they're 50, right? So let's think about this. If you're 30, I don't care, you may, I don't know, that's 20 years from now. But the thing is, you don't want to die by the time you're 50. So you want to be around by the time you're 50, right? If possible, you probably want to never die at all, right? You don't want to die. Okay, but here is the science on this, and I'll leave you with this, all right? 50 years old on, a 1% muscle loss per year for the next 10 years until you're 60. By the time between 50 and 60, you lost 1% of muscle. If you don't counter this with anabolic hormones, growth hormone, testosterone, estrogen, etc., that's another video. However, it is critical, no matter what you may be taking to counter this, that you do strength exercise. Strength, power, heavy strength, lighter strength with endurance, strength exercise, strength resistance. Okay. Now, time you're 60 on, this is sarcopenia, this is the problem. 60 on, 3%, people, 3% loss of muscle every year. Imagine this. Now, between 60 and 90, you lost 90%. Between 50 and 60, 10%. And by 90, you're what? Dead. Okay? And if you're not dead, you can't fucking move. You might as well be dead. Because you'll be laying there and you can't move and your eyes are open. You'll be basically in a fucking coffin with your eyes open. This is how serious it is that you do strength training. And all of you walkers out there, oh, this is a great exercise. No, it's not. And I'll be doing another video on this. It's a very bad exercise. Because while you're getting cardio, you're only getting cardio on your legs, and you're not gaining any muscle. As a matter of fact, that's what's showing that you lose muscle. Right? Make sure you're doing strength endurance and take muscle building seriously. It is your life. You will die. You will not be able to move, give or take a couple of years by the time you're 90. If you don't die from another cause, you will not be able to move, and you will basically be in a coffin with your eyes open, fucking guaranteed, if you do not do strength training. Okay? We're not talking about a disease, even though sarcopenia and aging really is a disease in itself. But on this alone, okay, where the doctors say, yeah, well, you're healthy. Okay, but here's the problem once again. You're fucking losing 3% of muscle every year from 60 years old on. You already lost 10% of your muscle, and by the time this is all gone, you are dead. Coincidence? And you can say, well, I'm not dead, but then you ain't fucking moving, are you? This is serious, so I'm cursing now. This is very serious. I'm giving this extra emphasis. This is your life. For all of you walkers who think you're doing something good, people who don't take strength training seriously, and just think cardio, you're just doing cardio. Cardio is better than nothing. Yeah, it's 1,000,000 times better than nothing. But it's 1,000,000 times worse than something that is appropriate, and that's the right thing to do. And that is to make sure you're doing strength endurance throughout your body. That is what will give you longevity and health and counter sarcopenia. And I'll do another video on various peptides and hormones, epithalon, GHKCU, thymosin beta-4, all sorts of great stuff that's available to help counter the aging process. It's a vicious disease that no one has ever survived. And you will eventually lose this disease. It's a matter of how do we counter it. And I recommend you counter it from the beginning, from day one. I don't care how old you are. Know what you're doing. The count to prolong your life starts now. It doesn't start then. It starts now. So I also say do some hangs. Preserve your spine. Take care of your spine. Don't do squats. Don't compress your spine like that. Preserve your spine so you're not, oh God, back surgery. Your spine screwed, your back surgery, you're fucking screwed. You're screwed. You're screwed. Take care of your spine because your spine's critical. You don't need squats. You can get those muscles good enough with other exercises. You don't need to compress your spine. Take care of your spine. Pull out on your spine. All right? Think of your life, not just now. And this is the problem. It goes into anabolic steroids. Also, people don't care about health. Care about your health. If you care about your health, then everything goes with that. If you don't care about your health, then everything goes in that direction. All right? So, okay, I got a little emotional there. I was talking about very serious stuff about life and death and that whole thing. Very serious. All right. So, on this note, let's positive, move forward, and have a good feeling that we know that we're going to do the right thing. We have the knowledge right now. We're going to do the right thing moving forward. And I hope you enjoy more and more of my videos that are on the way. All right, let's get after it today. All the way out there and back. 35.